What up, everybody? It's CBF Webs. Just kind of want to spark a discussion about Wu-Tang, the current situation with them. Not really about the $5 million album or whatever, but just kind of the situation, what's going on between RZA and Raekwon, and the new Consumer album, the 20th year anniversary of 36 Chambers, and basically what's been going on is just that RZA took the last year and a half to try to get this album out on time, and he kind of wanted to release the last Wu-Tang album. After this, he was going to be done MCing, rapping. He was going to be done with rap music in general, and just move on to movies, which he's been doing the past couple years. I mean, all through the 2000s, basically. I mean, since what, '05? Ever since Kill Bill, Ghost Dog came out, he's been doing the movie tip. Um, yeah, and so what's been going down is just that he took I think ever since 2011, 2012, I think he started recording the members, getting them together. I think they were already recording the secret album, but he I think he repurchased, or he did something with the Wu Mansion West, brought him out there, and then he had the Wu Mansion over in the East Coast. Excuse me, right over in New York or whatever, wherever that's. I think it's upstate New York, with the original Wu Mansion is located. So he reopened all that, and he had the members come down. He spent thousands of dollars, and had them all record the verses over the span of like a year and a half. So and then let's see, late last year he I think I think he started mentioning it summer 2013, talking about people are coming through. We're trying to knock this out. Got Capadonna here, got Ghostface, everybody. And then when fall came around, he started saying he needed more work from some of the people, whatever. Method Man was given. Method Man was really stepping up to the plate. He was really impressed with him. He was putting most of the work in. But he started saying he needed more contributions from RZA, Ghostface Killah, Capadonna's finishing up some verses. He's doing his thing. Method Man's doing his thing. Dex come through. Like, everybody was on board. And then he started saying Raekwon. All right, so like a month later, 3 weeks to a month later, Method Man comes out, starts saying, yeah, RZA's right. RZA, Ghostface maybe put in like 2 verses. We need more songs from Ghostface. Raekwon hasn't come through at all. So Method Man was kind of like went on record as putting Raekwon on blast, the first one to say it, and and then Raekwon started being like, I think he started seeing that, and RZA came out, did some interviews, whatever, and RZA said, he said, yeah, I need some contributions from Raekwon. He hasn't come through at all. Method Man really has come through, stepped up to the plate, and is not worried about money, whatever. He's gonna figure that shit out later, and he's just trying to help get this record out. He's really putting in that work, and then Meth had put Ray on blast. So then Ray comes back on Twitter and says, "Man, I don't know what Riz is talking about. He knows what it really is." Blah 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 blah, and he's talking about the whole money situation, the financial business, because there was some behind the scenes stuff that people didn't know about. The last album Wu-Tang came out with 8 diagrams. That there was some shady business deals behind the. I mean, but Raekwon and Ghostface came out and spoke against the album, talking about the beats are soft. Beatles covered. This ain't really Wu-Tang, and that caused some controversy. And then Ghost was trying to like saying he's disowning the album and all that. It's not Wu-Tang, and buy my album, Big Doe Rehab, whatever. But all that controversy aside, there were still shady business deals going on behind the scenes, and Raekwon has addressed them in certain videos, interviews that he's done that you can find on YouTube. But he's talking about the money wasn't right. That people were stealing money and stealing royalty checks from the members, and everybody was getting screwed over financially for doing 8 diagrams. He's gone on record saying it's not RZA's fault. But I know he kind of like blames the business management of Wu-Tang. So I'm sure he's talking about RZA's brother Divine and Probably Power, Ollie Grant, whatever. Probably some of the heads that that back them up. Um, yeah, so I mean, so when he's coming out saying I'm not gonna do any verses, I'm gonna make sure this is right for the fans. If this is the whole thing for the fans, I'm not just gonna come through and do it. I'm gonna make sure I'm not gonna get screwed over again. I got a family to take care of. I got things to worry about. It ain't just like I can just come through like Method Man, drop all my verses, figure out shit later. I mean, ever since Raekwon came back out with Cuban Links 2, he's been steadily making money. So he's got to put all that shit on hold just to come over and do RZA shit, because this is all RZA's idea, do one last Wu-Tang album. So to fully realize RZA's idea, I mean, he's got to put his whole shit on hold, his hustle. He's coming out with a new album, Fila, Fly International Luxurious Art. So he's dropping that, but and then some fans are looking like, what's the holdup, Ray? Like, why are you doing it? I mean, we understand you're coming out with an album, but dude, the last Wu-Tang Triumph, smashed the world. You know what I mean? One last time. What's your problem, Ray? But and then he's coming out like the fans are feeling like, why are you holding up that to release your new single, which is some soft Akon shit? What are you talking about, Wu-Tang soft? You're releasing Akon shit. So I mean, I understand that from the fans' perspective, and I kind of felt like that too for a minute, and I was just like, man. But then I had to look at it like, you know what? I can't knock Ray's hustle. I mean, he's doing his thing. He's been doing his thing. I bought his last 2 albums. They were great. I mean, can't really. I'm gonna wait to hear it before I even start judging about some Akon stuff. But he was talking about in an interview he didn't like the new Wu-Tang single, Keep Watch. It was produced by A Law of Mathematics, which is, as he puts it, one of their soldiers. But I mean, yeah, he's been a Wu element for how long? I mean, you know what I mean? There's the whole thing about the Wu elements, but some fans are talking about they want the whole new Wu-Tang album produced by RZA, like how it's always been. But they forget that the Wu elements actually came through and produced the second album. I mean, fans almost forget that some of the Wu-Tang stuff has been produced by the Wu elements, not just RZA. RZA started training producers to kind of like take over his spot because he couldn't produce every single album like in the 90s. He just did that for the 5-year plan to take over the rap game, and they did that. So his proteges, he was starting to help people out to come up and produce in his place. And that was A Law of Mathematics, who was their road DJ. He came up with the Wu-Tang symbol. He's been there since day one. So it was that guy. It was True Master and Fourth Disciple. They were the original 3 producers known as the Wu Elements. And then there was a dude named Goldfingers, but he was only around for something happened and he dropped out of the rap game completely. He was only around for the Capadonna debut album, the Pillage. And if you go and look on the album credits there, you'll see it's all the Wu elements plus Goldfingers, a dude named Goldfingers. So you'll see he's on there, but then he never appeared on any other project because right after that he had to drop out. His mom's got sick or something. You can look up the information; it's out there. But he was one of the Wu elements for like a year. And nobody else really filled that spot until Bronze Nazareth came in, and then Silver Rings, and this was all in the 2000s, so that happened later. But Wu-Tang Forever was, I mean, RZA did some beats, yeah, Deck did a beat, whatever, but go look, I mean, Mathematics all over that shit, True Master, Fourth Disciple, I mean, you know what I mean? So for Mathematics to produce the new single, and then Raekwon say he don't like it, bro, that's a Wu element. What do you mean he's one of your soldiers, and bro, you're releasing Akon. You're releasing an Akon single. Wu-Tang's doing Mathematics singles. They've been doing that for years, dude. I mean, you know what I mean? Say it's soft or whatever. I mean, if you expect a RZA beat, bro, go in the studio, tell RZA that. I mean, but he's got to do, because the financial situation, so he's all trying to figure that out. And have RZA, and then he's giving his demands to RZA, whatever, because RZA's going on all these interviews talking about, Hot 97 and everything, talking about, I'm giving Ray 30-day notice, and if he don't get on board with this project, they ain't never coming out. And that's not really fair to the fans. I mean, and if Ray's gonna hold that shit up like that, then it won't ever come out, because RZA's gonna scrap it or whatever. Because I mean, he's got to have every Wu-Tang member on it, And so, and if he's gonna do that, then I understand. Like both viewpoints. Like RZA doesn't want to release an album unless Ray's on it because if he's a living Wu-Tang member, if he's not gonna be on it, it's not gonna be Wu-Tang. It's not gonna be a Wu-Tang album. It's gotta have every member. He's planning on putting ODB verses on there, like old unused ones from the vault. Okay, so it's got to have Raekwon, and then Raekwon saying, "Nah, my financial situation's got to be right. Ain't trying to get jerked around, ripped off like last time." That makes sense too. And Ray's about to drop an album. It's kind of like the whole thing with when 8 Diagrams came out. Ghostface Killah was about to drop an album. It's kind of like that whole situation again. Ghostface Killah, it was with 8 Diagrams with the release dates. They kept bringing out more release dates. It kept getting pushed back, and then the final release date was like, what was it? It was like November, it was like November 4th or something like that. And Ghostface Killah comes out and says, "Nah, that's when my album's dropping. You got to push that shit back." And it's Wu-Tang, it's his family, but he's telling them, he's giving them threats like, "No, you got to push that shit back. It's all about me." So that's what happened, and then it's kind of like so RZA ended up pushing the album back a week later, like November 13th or whatever. And I think it was the anniversary of ODB's death or whatever. But so the same situation seems to be playing out now. Seems to be happening with Raekwon. Now Raekwon's dropping an album. He's not trying to have that get in the way of his album. He's trying to come out with some new shit. Be on the grind, do some videos, make some money, do some tours, whatever. You know what I mean? But Wu-Tang's been planning this whole shit since before that. Ray May had the Fila idea in his head, but he didn't really start putting it to work till this past year. But Wu-Tang's been working on this. RZA's been working on all the members trying to get him in the studio for the last 2 years. So really, and then Raekwon hasn't even shown up. So and then he started working on his thing. So it's almost like Ray just kind of like, started working on his thing later, and now he's in the middle of doing that. But and RZA's been like, "Dude, it's been 2 years, dude. You know what I mean? You either get on board now. Come on, man. We got pre-orders out for July. Everything's ready to go except Raekwon verses. Come on in, drop your verses. I'll press it up quick, and we'll put it out in July." So that's kind of like where the situation is. And then they were beefing back and forth in the news, in the press, talking about, RZA says this, Raekwon says that, RZA says this, Raekwon says that. Well, it finally got settled or whatever, and the Wu-Tang website released a statement talking about Ray and RZA reached a truce. But then I just Googled like all the news or whatever before I started this video, and that's like the last piece of news available as of right now, and it's like 2 months ago, and there's no like new news since then, and it's not even accurate because on the Wu-Tang website they've taken down the word truce. So because the original post was Raekwon and RZA reach a truce. Raekwon hit studio to record new verses for a Better Tomorrow album. Will definitely be coming out in July. Well, they've redacted that statement, and it doesn't say truce anymore. It just says Raekwon and RZA in talks. Raekwon in talks to hit studio or whatever, like that. So now they're just in talks. They didn't reach a truce. He's not going to the studio to record his verses. Okay, so that's not happening. He's just in talks to maybe record his verses. So and nobody's reporting on that, even though the official website says that. So, and that comes from Wu-Tang themselves. Whoever does the PR for them, it's not actual Wu-Tang like writing it out, but it's the news of Wu-Tang and the PR is doing it. It's not Silver Rings, who Silver Rings actually runs the Wu-Tang Corp website. And there's like no information on there. So yeah, it's the official website, WuTangClan.com, whatever, and whoever's like close with them is writing all those stories. They redacted the statement. Now they're saying no, it's not true. It's no truce. It's just in talks to be a truce or whatever that shit even means. So I'm now of the opinion that I'm not going to believe any of that shit until I hear that Raekwon's actually in the studio recording his verses, because I was thinking about placing a pre-order on the album, but with all this stuff and this news going on, who knows, you know what I mean? And then I don't want to have to go through this whole thing about getting my money back, whatever, if they don't work shit out, within a month. Because times count now, it's like a month before July hits now, right? Then they got to do all the marketing promotion. They got to send it off to get, you know, they got to master it. They got to send it off. They got to get the finals ready. You know, so it is what it is. What do you guys think? Leave your comments below, and see you guys later. Peace.